Welcome back. Now, ahead of the scheduled Modi-Trump meeting sometime later on this month, a U.S. military plane carrying allegedly illegal migrants has departed from India. The C-17 aircraft transport the deportees as part of the Trump administration's broader immigration crackdown. The administration has enlisted military support for its immigration agenda, deploying additional troops to the U.S.-Mexico border as well, using military aircraft for deportations and opening base to house migrants. Now, this marks the first deportation to India since President Trump's return to the White House. Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have raised concerns over illegal Indian immigration in discussions with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar.
The first lot of Indians, illegal immigrants, have returned to India in American planes, perhaps a few thousand of them. But this was entirely to be expected because even before he was elected, he was talking about illegal immigrants. The fact that only 5,000 have is also a sign that America is also listening to India. India has said that we will accept illegal immigrants from India, but they have to be Indian citizens. And there has to be sufficient proof that they are Indian citizens. Once that is so, they will come back to India. After all, you can't stop an Indian citizen coming back to his own country. And they have. But the important point is that India is making it clear there has to be enough proof to show that they are Indian citizens. And this, in the case of this first 5,000, there certainly is enough proof.
So, with Shinja setting that up, there are some facts which we need to put forward. From what we understand, there's a Bloomberg report which says that 18,000 Indians living illegally in America have been identified by both nations here. And from what we understand, this first batch is about a total of 205 Indian nationals who are being transported from a C-17 military aircraft here, which took off from the United States sometime earlier this morning in Indian Standard Time. To discuss what that means for India-American relations and for the security of both nations, let me welcome Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat, and also Pathikrit Payne, one of India's most foremost and well-known geopolitical analysts. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining me. Mr. Goel, Ambassador Goel, let me begin with you. I can't help but contrast, and I would say the mature reaction which India had to the Trump administration stands of deporting illegal immigrants versus the way, say, Mexico has taken or Colombia has taken them back, kicking and screaming. India has been quite forthright in stance in saying that if they can be proved to be Indian nationals, if they have been proved to be living illegally in America, we are ready to take them back. Do you feel that this is a very key step in terms of building the trust between both nations at this point, with the new administration having taken over in Washington?
I think this morning I've been saying to different people who care to talk about this issue of illegal immigrants, trade and tariff and so on and so forth, that the US-India relations are far too strategic to be constrained by the factors of trade and tariff and legal immigrants when they can be resolved through conversation, through dialogue, and I'm sure they will be resolved. I don't think they are such major issue that we need to worry about. Talking about the illegal immigrants in this context, EAM has already agreed on a certain number to take back, etc., etc. I have been a diplomat in my life. I have dealt with these issues. These are pure and simple immigration-related issues. If there is a person who is an Indian national, as can be proved by either possessing a passport, and there are other checks. You can check. If he's an Indian national, he has a right to come back to India, and if he doesn't want to come back to India, and if he's staying illegally in some other country, that other country has a right to deport him. Simple and straight. And therefore, if the USA today, they decide to send back illegal immigrants from India back to India, there is very little that we can do or we should do about it. They're coming back to their own country, so where is the problem at all? I don't think we should make such a huge issue out of it. They went there. If they stayed there illegally, they stayed there illegally, knowing fully well what they are getting into. And lastly, on this issue, most of the illegal immigrants in the USA are doing the kind of job which are far, far below the capacity of those Indians. So that doing jobs like petrol pump attendants and those kind of things, janitors and so on and so forth. I don't think we should really be uh, too unhappy if they come back to India. Let them, and
Okay.
not make it an issue in the relationship. Yes.
Pathikrit, do you agree with the assessment that perhaps this was the best way to move forward, as long as a delineation is made between the fact that Indians who have legally staying and working in America do not get harassed on the basis of the race and ethnicity, as long as India is ready to facilitate the return of those who have been proven to be staying illegally as aliens in America?
Absolutely. There are three different things. Those who go on H-1B visa, that's a completely different issue. The birthright citizenship issue is another issue. And illegal immigration is a completely different dimension of issue altogether. As a country, we have been very much against the illegal infiltration that happens from countries like Bangladesh or even the Rohingyas. So when India keeps on deporting Bangladeshis and illegal Rohingyas, and there is a lot of pressure on the government to do so by the people of the country, there is no reason why India would be against, any kind of deportation of illegals, Indians who have gone there. So whether it is illegal immigration happening into India or whether it is illegal immigration being done by Indians into another country, both are completely the same thing. So I think India does not bother about that. The only issue, Ritangshu, as ambassadors are also mentioned, the vetting has to be in a process. There are tendencies, there are examples. A lot of people from Pakistan and other countries tend to tear off their passport and claim during deportation time that they are from India. So the vetting process is done not just by the American authorities, it will be done by the Embassy of India in America as well, and to ensure that they're genuinely Indians. The issue of H-1B visa is completely different. If you see the Trump administration, there are so many people of Indian origin who have reached to that stage. That means United States is not against, Trump administration is not against anybody on the basis of race or religion. It is purely about illegality of, if you cross the border illegally into another country, it is illegal. On the issue of H-1B visa, I think the Trump administration has been very vocal. They require skilled manpower. And also, it is important to understand, if you have gone on an H-1B visa, you can't expect that I will automatically get a green card, then I will automatically get a citizenship and my seventh generation will stay there. You got a job, you go there, you work, you may get a citizenship. If you get it, good enough. If you do not get it, you can't say that you have been betrayed by the Americans. You should come back after the terms and conditions are over. So we have to be pragmatic. As a country, I think India will never ask America that please make my citizens your citizens. But those who are citizens of United States, of Indian origin, they have all the rights which an American citizen have, and they would have the same. So yes, we have to be a little more calibrated as in terms of our expectations from the United States. And I think the approach of the government of India is very, very mature, nuanced, and that is exactly what it should be. The only thing is about ensuring the vetting process. There are many who are waiting for the papers to be handed over to them. They can't be called illegal because they have applied for something, they have not yet got it. So that time frame has to be given to them. But those who illegally cross over, there are many who go to Canada and then they come into United States. That is not something, that kind of illegality as a country, as a sovereign country, we will never support, because we do not support the same when it happens inside the country. Strategically, these are two important nations. There are many areas of convergence. So I think the issue of illegal immigrants being deported will never arise. And I think the maturity shown by government of India must be appreciated.
There is a follow-up question that comes naturally when it comes to the fact that India understands how important this issue is for America, given that we also face with the security dilemma that crops up from the point of illegal immigration. But Ambassador Goel, the criticism being leveled against Donald Trump over his deportation policy is not just the fact that he is sending illegal immigrants back, but the manner in which he is sending them back. Now, infamously, some of the deportees, when they had been sent back to, I think it was Brazil and to Colombia, they were in handcuffs. They were not given an opportunity to have any food or drink or go to the toilet in planes. Is that a concern for India as well, given the fact that although they are illegal immigrants here, they may be people who are seen as criminals, but they're still Indian citizens? Is that a concern given that, from what I understand, it's a C-17 aircraft which is bringing these 205 Indians back home? And if I have read correctly, unless there's an additional modification to a C-17 aircraft, which is a military plane, there's only one toilet on board for 205 Indians plus the crew on board.
Look, I have never traveled in a C-17 aircraft, and therefore I cannot vouch for what kind of facilities exist over there. What I do know is that American agencies are rather careful not subjecting people on these kind of flights to inhumanitarian conditions. I don't know. They normally do not. And number two, I know Indians. I know my fellow peer Indians. And I know that if there is any kind of discomfort on the aircraft, there would be hue and cry once they land back in India. So my suggestion is that as far as that is concerned, let us take up that issue once that happens. Why are we trying to basically think of preceding the, let us wait for it to happen. And then just one more thing I would say, please. You see, visa is not a right. It's a privilege. Therefore, I think we should accept the fact that unless there is an extreme need for you to leave the country and take residence somewhere else for work or whatever it is, think very carefully about it. Your country, my two sons, they studied in the USA and Canada, and they came back to India. Even when I was posted there in those countries, they came back. They chose to, they exercise their choice. Therefore, I'm saying exercise a choice in accordance with the prevailing conditions. Yes.
All right, Ambassador Goel, as our viewers can see, there's already been some sort of politics that has happened at this point. The Congress sees this as a gesture of weakness, and Manish Tiwari has spoken to us, and he has asked the Prime Minister and the External Affairs Minister to clarify. Let's listen in if he can play out that interaction which Manish Tiwari has had with us, and then we'll go back to Pathikrit to listen in.
Well, it is strange. It's just been a couple of days since President Trump has been sworn in. All these deportations, are they going through the proper judicial processes, or are people being rounded up and just put onto planes and India is accepting them back? The foreign minister and the prime minister need to clarify that, are we just accepting anybody and everybody who's being put on a plane and being deported to India? Or is the Indian embassy in Washington, D.C. or our consulates verifying that the proper due process has been followed when it comes to sending these people back?
So, Pathikrit Payne, the Congress is essentially echoing a concern which you have raised as well, that as long as there is proper vetting being done and India is convinced that these are Indian citizens indeed who are being sent back and not others, as you mentioned, who are trying to sneak to India, that I'm assuming that statement will come from the Foreign Affairs Ministry once this flight lands in India and India has taken account of who all have been sent back. The follow-up question which I had, Pathikrit, to the point you were mentioning is that surely this dichotomy can't exist where India is ready to take back illegal Indian citizens who have tried to migrate abroad, but continue to not do anything about others who have migrated illegally to India from neighboring nations. Is it time for India now to also perhaps look at replicating this situation and perhaps sending back those who have migrated illegally into India from other nations here at a mass level, even if it means further antagonizing some of our less friendly neighbors around us?
Ritangshu, you are absolutely spot on, because whenever India tried to take any strong action, even a bill, an act like the Citizenship Amendment Act, which has nothing to do with deportation, but just to give citizenship to the persecuted minorities in the neighborhood, there was so much of problem that we faced, resistance, anarchy kind situation, all funded from abroad, from this particular country. And I must mention that the name of US aid keeps on coming into that. That now is being, hounded by the government of United States, Trump administration, and rightly so. So I'll tell you this, you are absolutely right. Today, it is high time for government of India, and I think there's a bill on immigration and foreigners coming into the parliament this time. I think it is right time that those who have illegally immigrated into come into India, staying here with false, identity cards, not only they should be deported, there should be strong deterrence that they don't come back again. You need to severely punish those who facilitate them with fake ID cards or give them genuine ID cards with fake documents. And if at any point of time the other countries, the Western countries, raise the voice, you tell them that none of your business anymore. It cannot be that deporting en masse is a legitimate right of the Western elite countries and the rest cannot do it. So I think it is important. This is high time we do something, because if anybody wants to come into India legitimately, even if from Bangladesh or any other country, most welcome. But you can't keep on crossing the border, crossing the fencing. You see right now, border guards Bangladesh is creating resistance. They don't even want the fencing to be put up in the places where the fencing doesn't exist, because they have facilitated so much of illegal infiltration into India, so much of smuggling, fake currency. My last point, illegal infiltration doesn't happen in isolation. It is always in unison with narcotics, drugs, fake currency trafficking, human trafficking. Then there is illegal arms and many other things, including radicalization. So we need to have a strong law on illegal immigration, and we have to take this now, because this is the time. Trump administration has created an ecosystem that today they will back you up. Yes,
I agree, and I think that's you said it, Pathikrit Payne, that I think the tone has been set with India being very receptive, as you pointed out, to an issue in which there has been convergence in the viewpoints of the Indian and the American administration at this point. Whether that gets replicated domestically is something we will have to watch out for. Pathikrit Payne and Ambassador Goel, thank you so much for joining us on this very important issue at this point.